Afternoon Drive is sponsored by Certified Transmission.
And welcome to Afternoon Drive here on WDAF Plus as we celebrate the life and legacy. If you didn't know it by now, Dolly Parton died today in Nashville, 80 years old. That statement from her family, one of her family members did a video statement that broke the news to the world that one of the all-time greatest female performers, songwriters. She wrote, over 3,000 songs. More than 1,000 recorded, of course, a number by her, 11 Grammys, movies, personal appearances, and philanthropy. And we're going to talk about a lot of that. In fact, on the philanthropy front, I'm John Holt, by the way, and we'll be joined by Lauren Halifax and a couple of very big fans of Dolly Parton's, local fans here in a moment. But on that philanthropy front, her Imagination Library touched so many young people, millions of books, 200 million nationwide, and some right here in Kansas City. She was here in 2024, and our Crystal Martinez was there and has this story.
Folly Theater turned into Dolly Theater. Dolly Parton got a warm welcome here in Kansas City. She's celebrating her Imagination Library statewide expansion, making sure kids under 5 get a jump start in reading. She was so excited to be here, but don't just take my word for it.
Well, I was excited because I'm thinking, I'm going to Kansas City.
There you go.
And I always loved the song, I always loved the state.
Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 has turned to working all day. Parton is in Kansas City celebrating her literacy program expanding statewide in Missouri, an idea influenced by her father who didn't know how to read or write.
And it just seemed to bother him a lot. It just seemed to cripple him emotionally more than anything because he was a brilliant man. And I always wanted to do something for my dad because he'd done so much for us.
And so Imagination Library was born, giving kids a chance for their kids to receive books each month from when they're born to when they turn 5 and start school.
And so they're going to grab somebody in their house, whether it be a brother or a sister or a grandma or a mama, and they're going to make them read that. So it kind of instills in them a love for reading, but just a love for family as well.
But are you guys really happy that Dolly Parton's in Missouri today? Huh?
Governor Mike Parson and First Lady Teresa Parson also stopping by to show their support. The governor sharing with the crowd how the state was able to fund the program and the impact it's having on kids' lives, a generation that will know Dolly Parton differently than we do.
I feel like an aunt, like I'm the book lady, so it's almost like I'm an aunt that might come and visit sometime. It's like, where's the book lady? She's part of our family.
Since its launch 29 years ago, the program has gifted over 200 million free books. The book lady. I told her, I can't believe that. That's not how we know her as. But here's another fun fact for you. Missouri is the 14th state to commit to the statewide program. Kansas did so last year. Fox 4's Abby Eden also emceed the event. She did a phenomenal job. We have more information about how you can sign up on our website, fox4kc.com.
All right, Lauren Halifax joins me now. Lauren, that may have been one of the last major appearances Dolly Parton made. Judging by the file footage that's now on all of the cable networks, much of it from that Imagination event here in Kansas City.
Well, the last few years, her husband, Carl, who passed away last year, he was declining in health, and she didn't want to leave him for very long. So She did more and more of her appearances on Zoom, or over face video. In fact, the truck stop, what is it called? Dolly's truck stop. That just the last couple of months, she's opening this truck stop that will compete with Buc-ee's, the likes of Buc-ee's, and that again was one where she was supposed to be there in person and decided not to. Yeah. But since his passing, they were so close. She loved him so much, and that it's interesting to me that she passed so closely after he did.
Yeah, and of course the book program dedicated to her father, who never did learn to read or write. She was a daughter of a sharecropper, grew up poor, and yet managed to emerged from that. She was writing songs, I read at one point, starting at the age of 5.
Isn't that incredible?
And yeah, unbelievable, and just a brilliant person. And the best part about her was her self-efficating. She was a meme to many people, and she knew it, and she embraced it, and she loved it, and she encouraged it.
And what people don't understand is what it took to be that kind of a country music star when it was entirely a man's world.
Right.
She and Loretta Lynn and just one or two others were a force early on in country music, and And she was never masculine. She embraced her femininity. She was always sweet and gracious and loving, and found a way to be successful in a really challenging and competitive world. And I just know that in this generation, she really paved the way for what a lot of women are able to do in their own personal success, regardless of their field now. And I don't know that a lot of younger women understand how hard that was.
One of them was Taylor Swift, of course.
Yes,
she and Travis donated some money, $1 to $2 million. I can't recall the figure, to her Imagination program, and she thanked them in a post on social media for that. It was part of their wedding. Let's bring in another true fan who we know well, as a former reporter here at Fox 4.
She and I were standing in my kitchen texting with her when you told me we're going to have her on the show. I was like, yes, that's exactly right.
Sheree Honeycutt joins us now.
Hi, Sheree.
Via Zoom. And how are you doing, dear? When did you learn of the passing, and what were your thoughts?
I had a feeling that this was coming. And then I got a text. I was walking out to lunch, and I got a text from a friend, and then my phone just started going crazy. I was saying to somebody, I get a lot of messages on my birthday. I got a lot of messages in about an hour, one from Lauren. So thank you, Lauren. But yeah, it was something I was not expecting today, but was expecting soon. She made a virtual appearance, I don't know, a week or so ago. She couldn't go. And I thought it was really interesting what she said, which was that she said her butterfly wings were getting a little weaker. And I was like, that's not something Dolly would say unless something was happening or she was really not doing well. And she had planned to travel for some event, and the doctor said she wasn't allowed to travel. And so she openly said, my doctors are telling me I can't come to this event. And so she was apologetic. But I just kind of was like, it takes a lot for her to say no. Today, I'm feeling really grateful, I think, just to live in a time where we got to spend so much of her, got to enjoy her for so long, and really understand the gifts that she's given us in this world. I relate a lot to her as a person. And so for me, I try to always think about, like, what would Dolly do? A lot of people say that. It's like, what would Dolly do? And I think she really is one of those people where if you think about, like, what would she do, you'll come up with a really good answer of what you should do.
I know you have a great collection of vinyl of her works, and you're obviously sporting a great looking shirt there. When was it? At what point in your life did you just fall for her?
I think it was during the pandemic. I really dove in. Like, I'd always loved her, but I think I really needed something positive. My husband and I moved. We live in a house that's over 100 years old, and we moved in together at that time. And we don't have it anymore, but he had this old vinyl record player, like cabinet. And so we decided, since we were moving in together and we weren't married yet, but we were like, let's start collecting vinyl. And so I said, okay, if I want to collect vinyl, I want to collect something I'm going to really care about. And so I kind of decided that my new thing was I'm going to find every Dolly Parton vinyl record. I have a spreadsheet of all of her vinyls that she's done by herself or with Porter Wagner. And so I keep track. I think I have over 65 now.
Wow.
Oh, that's incredible.
There's over 100.
Okay.
And some albums she didn't print in vinyl. So, you gotta, but I pulled out a few that I thought would be interesting to show. This is one of my favorites, which is the one people probably know the most, which is Coat of Many Colors. This is original printing that my husband got me for Christmas one year. And what I love about a lot of her vinyls is she will write, especially the older ones, they used to write letters on the back of vinyls. So you'll see, like, there's dedications on everyone, but this one she wrote about her childhood. And I have so many memories of my childhood, but none that touches me deeper than my memory of my coat of many colors that my mom made for me. And so I have this one, which is really sweet. And then this one is another original, and I'm going to take it out of the wrapping. But this is the home. that she grew up in. And this is her album, My Tennessee Mountain Home. Sorry for the light glare. But this is the house she came from. I mean, when you were talking about starting to write songs, she would have written them in this house.
And she had how many siblings that she lived with there?
I remember it was like
She had a big family.
Yeah.
She had a big family.
I want to say 12.
And
Does that sound right?
yeah, that sounds right. I didn't want to say 12 because
Yeah,
I feel like it felt
I feel
like a
like
lot.
I saw that number.
But
yeah.
I think it was she came from a family much like, my dad's size. So in Tennessee. And so she grew up in this house. And it's still there. I don't think people can visit anymore. They talk a lot about it in there's a really good podcast called Dolly Parton's America that NPR did. And the reporter actually goes to her home in that podcast and gets to see what it looks like and talks about it. But they do talk in that podcast about how difficult it was to get there. Here's another one. I just really love this one. This is so iconic. This is like the 70s Dolly. This is Love is Like a Butterfly, which I love that song. But this is just so iconically Dolly, with the butterfly symbol. This one's kind of cool. It's not as well known, but it's Heartbreak Express. She's sitting in that train car, just like in her fur coat. I love it. So cool. This one's also super iconic. This was given to me by some friends, which is obviously the original 9 to 5.
Oh my gosh, I was a kid when that came out, and that was the biggest hit.
9 to 5 and
on the
Odd
radio.
Job. So
yes, and
this isn't
as
the
a
movie
film
soundtrack, but it's the album. So she put an album out, and then there's another vinyl soundtrack. I can't find that one yet, but I love this picture of her on the back with her little slippers and the dog. And the dog, I think, is yawning. Yeah.
I
So
read
cute.
somewhere, it might have been the Wall Street Journal's obituary, that she wrote the theme song on the movie set. 9 to 5.
Yeah. So she wrote it with her nails is the main instrument that is known for that. So
Just incredible. I mean, the ability to
And
just,
that's-
I want
yeah.
to sit down and write the song that will be iconic. I'm sure that wasn't what she was thinking, but they needed a song for the
No.
movie, and she wrote
one
it.
of
That's unreal.
one
I
of
mean,
her favorite stories that she would tell about that movie, because that was the first movie she was ever in. And so one of her favorite stories that she would tell about that movie is she got the script and they're like, okay, you're going to be in this movie. You need to memorize your lines. So she comes in and she's memorized the entire movie.
oh, wow.
Of course
She
she
needed to
did.
memorize, and nobody else had. She was like, I thought that's what I was supposed to do. So she helped people online with their lines on set because she memorized the entire movie and not just her lines, because that was the first. She'd never done anything like that in her life.
Right.
She really forged a lifelong friendship too with the other actresses that she starred
Yeah.
with, Jane Fonda
They-
and Lily Tomlin.
They did a reunion some years back where they took pictures together. I can't remember when that was, but that was really cool.
Yeah.
That her and like Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. I think this was her disco album. So this was like a big deal when this came out. John's like, I remember that one. But this one's Here You Come Again. Me and Little Andy, that's like a favorite of people who know her. And then Two Doors Down. That was a big one. But everybody was shocked at this one because it was like kind of a turn away from folk country into something more dance.
More mainstream. Yes.
More mainstream. This one's actually, and this is the last one I had pulled out, but I have a ton of them. We can go through more if you want. But this is my favorite one, which is like a random one. But I love it for sentimental reasons. So it's called A Real Life Dolly. And this is when she was still on the Porter Wagner show. But this is her at her high school. This is the first time she went back to her high school since she became famous and was on the Porter Wagner show. And so she did this benefit concert. So this is in her high school gymnasium, this picture. And you hear her talking to these kids, and she has a scholarship there at, I forget the name of the school, but it probably says it right here. Sevier County, Tennessee
Okay.
Sevier County High School. So she has a scholarship there to this day to help kids go to college. But she talks in this, and I just look at this picture and always think like that must have been such a meaningful moment for her in her life. You know, I mean, sure, there's a lot of them, but when you first get that recognition and the gym is full and everybody's there, that must have been such a special.
You mentioned
day
Porter
for her.
Wagner. I read that she wrote a song, "I Will Always Love You," as her way of saying goodbye. She hadn't told him yet because they were. He really kind of helped launch her career, and I think she wrote in her memoir it was really going nowhere from there. And she was with him for a number of years, and then decided to go solo. And she wrote a song to say farewell, which I thought was pretty cool. And Jolene, I understand, was based on a teller at the bank that flirted with her spouse.
That's right.
She wrote the song based on that. It was just one of those kind of, she was inspired by it and came up with the song, and that's Jolene. I didn't know that. That's a great story.
Yeah, she said her husband was like spending way too much time at the bank, which I thought was hilarious. Because he worked in finance, and so he was going to the bank, and she was like, "Why are you always at the bank? Why are you always in there?" So she walked in one day, and there was this redheaded woman, and she just like saw red, literally.
Yeah.
And wrote this song about her. Yeah. But yeah, her career with Porter Wagner was really interesting. I've got a lot of those. She had, almost the same amount of albums with Porter. Here's one. And, they're wearing these matching outfits. And Porter Wagner is from West Plains, if you didn't know that.
I didn't. No.
He was known as the man from West Plains, Missouri, which is where my family's from.
Okay.
Down in that area.
What a cool connection.
So I love that when you drive home, it's like home of Porter Wagner. Yeah. But he didn't do her a lot of favors. That's a real, but she was always so kind to him. So he had this woman, I forget her name, that was the original person on the Porter Wagner show. And she was beloved. Like people were obsessed with her. And I think her husband like moved, or there was something to do with her husband. And so she quit the show to be a wife and like be with him. And everybody was so upset and they didn't know what to do. And so they hired Dolly. And for the first, because it was off of her Dumb Blonde song that went really popular, they were like, oh, we could bring her in. She's a good singer. She can play a musical instrument. And people did not like her. At the beginning, they did not like her on the Porter Wagner show and were honestly like asking to get her off of the show. But over time, she really grew to be loved and really wrote some great hits. And so she was starting to get a lot of attention, sometimes a little more attention than Porter. And that was very uncomfortable for him because he was always the star of the show. It's the Porter Wagner show. So, she tried to quit a few times and he was like, no, you're not going anywhere. And so she decided she was going to quit. Like she was done. And she wrote that song and she took it to him. And that was her way of quitting. And so a lot of people look at that song and they think it's about a breakup. It's used in The Bodyguard. It had a whole new life. And people look at that as like a breakup song. And really it was like, let me go have my career. I really feel like Taylor Swift probably related to that a lot with her original records. It's like, I just got to move on with my life. Yeah. And so she did, and she went on to have an amazing career. But what I think some people may not know later in life, Porter was very down on his luck when he got older, didn't have a lot of money. And so she bought a lot of their work back from the family and then just gave it back to them.
Yeah.
Oh, what a
like
generous,
she took it
thing.
And then gave it back. So they got the money and a lot of the music still.
Yeah.
So they were able to use that to survive. And she was one of the last people that was with him in the hospital when he died.
That is so Dolly Parton. That story.
I know.
Her kindness just knows no bounds.
Wow. Well, Sheree, we sure appreciate you sharing your love of Dolly Parton, and
Of
the
course.
vinyl is fantastic. It just
Yeah.
brings back a lot of memories. And again, condolences to you and the millions of her fans
you.
out there.
Thank you.
She's an icon, and now will grow. I think grow even larger in stature in terms of her talent. People will learn about things about her that maybe they didn't know, and that's a cool thing. So
I
thank
think
you.
we may see some music come out too.
Yes.
I think we may see some music that's been held back as
Okay.
well.
Well, that would be fitting for sure.
Yeah.
I sure hope so. I'd love to have
Me
some more
too.
that wasn't released yet to hear it.
Sheree Honeycutt,
Thank you so much for
Thank
spending time
you.
with
Yeah.
us.
we sure appreciate it. We'll have another fan on with us, and a bit later, a guy who's going to run 7 marathons on 7 continents. More of Afternoon Drive still to come.